Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nate.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
The Dons fire under Friday night lights. In front of 81,000 people, the Bombers beat the reigning premiers by 12 points, 13-14-92 to Collingwood at 12-8-80. Welcome back to the Don Pod. A very buoyant mood on a Saturday morning. I'm joined by Nathan. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam and listeners. It's frosty. It's beautiful. It's the best day in the world. Christmas has come early for us Essendon supporters, I believe.
It's a bit of a weird mood doing it in the morning. I got my coffee rather than my Coke, which is a bit odd. It feels strange, but hey-ho.
Well, as opposed to last week, I didn't sleep well again thinking about it, but the thoughts were so much better.
But you were up all night in more ways than one.
Let's not go near that.
Okay. I just want to start today off playing you a clip from last week, if that's okay. Now, I'm doing this the hardest possible way, so there's a few clicks I've got to do, but let me just take you back to last week's podcast. If you wanted anything to prove to you that Nathan has completely lost the plot, he didn't say Essendon by 12, and not only that, he didn't say Essendon at all. I think that might be a first.
First time.
We have sat there before and genuinely talked shit about our football club for half an hour, and then you go on and tip us.
Yep.
Wowzers. I'll say Essendon by 12. What a fucking god. I'm taking applications for people. I just want to point out how hilarious it is that basically 95% of the season you have said Essendon by 12. The two times we've won by 12 points this year, you did not say Essendon by 12.
Maybe there's something in that. Maybe next time I do it.
Just stop saying Essendon by 12.
Well, I'm just going to go back to saying Essendon by 12.
Well, we've done it twice this year. Surely we don't do it again.
No,
Seems like an unlikely scoreline to happen 3 times in a season. Anyway, I'm quite happy with that because I happened to steal your thunder. With that, how good. Back to the game. Plenty to dissect and discuss. So, goal scorers: Wright, Langford 2, Stringer, Merritt, Jones, Guelphy, Gresham, Dersma, Caldwell, Draper, Caddy 1. I'm not going to have Draper and Caddy next to each other again because I nearly said crappy. Anyway. Not quite as good as Murrett, but anyway.
Murrett was my favourite.
Yeah. Leading possession winners on the ground for us, Merritt and Caldwell 30 apiece, Still and Shield 26, and Durham and Ridley had 25 each. So, I mean, there's just so much to talk about here. 81,000 people on a Friday night cold in Melbourne's very impressive for one. Collingwood home game, so that's obviously on them quite a bit too, but...
Do you reckon a lot of Collingwood supporters were there going, all right, we'll get our season back on track now. We've got Essendon.
Well, Essendon play teams into form, so we're on here.
There's a bit of footage of a lady, and it must have been third or fourth quarter, who they cut to in the crowd, and she was cursing everyone around her, and she was in Collingwood colours. She looked like she's in the cheer squad. You're like,
it's nice, isn't it?
Giggle.
I work with a lady who's a Collingwood supporter. We've had quite a lot of chats. She's one of the good ones, but she was there last night, so had a little bit of a giggle thinking about that on the way home. Sorry.
I also work with a Collingwood lady who's been wanting to come on the podcast.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay. I said, no, it's an Essendon podcast. We're not having Collingwood people on.
We're just never going to have a guest at this point, really, are we? It's me and you.
I'm going to ask you about that later.
Okay. All right. I look forward to it. Let's start with the glaringly obvious. Zach Merritt loves playing Collingwood. It's confirmed. Anzac medalist from April, and then backed that up last night with 30 touches, 5 clearances, 4 tackles, and 15 fucking score involvements. Half of his disposals ended up in scores.
Yep.
And that was 5 better than the next best on the ground, not just Essendon, which was Guelphy and Gresham with 10 apiece, which 10, I think, is quite a good game if you're getting 10 score involvements. But
do you reckon the arrogance of Collingwood hurt them there, that they don't tag? And I would argue that part of the problems with us the last few weeks of not been, very competitive, is that teams have gone after Zach Merritt, and to different effects. I wouldn't say they've held him to nothing or anything like that. But I think, you talk about the 15 score involvements, that's
huge.
probably what he does to teams, doesn't he? Like when he gets the ball, he can really hurt them.
I think there's two schools of thought with this, right? Geelong did it last week with Atkins on him, and Zach got away from him probably early, and then really Atkins won the rest of the night. I think with Collingwood, what you've got is a team with Nick Dacos, Jordan De Goey, Pendlebury, Sidebottom, who can basically they back their own players to win their own football. And I think that's fine. I think when you've got the talent and the class that they do have in the midfield, I think that's reasonable. Maybe at a certain point, I think Craig McRae goes, right, Zach's actually bloody killing us here.
But if you're a Collingwood supporter, you go home from that game last night and you think, well, I mean, if you're doing your podcast, you're a Collingwood supporter doing your podcast this morning, I would still sit there and go, so they tagged Dacos, and I would say it had an effect.
I've got some numbers on
Dacos. Yet we let Merritt run around pretty much free, and there was footage of him standing off contest by himself.
The one where he passed
third or fourth quarter, somewhere around there, where he just got
when he passed it to Dersma. He got the ball out of the stoppage, and I said to my sister, because I was complaining that that Crisp had too much space earlier. But Zach was all alone. That's our best player, and he's just all by himself. See, that's a fuck up. There's no way in hell they're leaving him free.
I agree that probably stands out as that's not what their plan is. But I felt like, at maybe the third quarter when things were getting a bit pear-shaped for them, because we could break the game into sort of two sections, or maybe three,
first
I guess.
Quarter and everything else.
That first quarter, first 15 minutes, where we just looked like poo. Everything went wrong for us. Our forward structures were wrong, and I reckon we changed a few things there later in the game. Crisp was dominating on Perkins, and I reckon they changed that too, and that improved us. And then the second, third, and half of the fourth quarter, when everything was perfect for us. And then that last, again, 10, 15 minutes of the last quarter, where they just knew they had to go, and they went.
Even still, they didn't really get away from us in that. They kicked the last 3 or 4, I think, but
they had left themselves too much of a chance.
But
I don't care who they are. They can't kick. They had to kick 6 goals. They were down by 31 points. 6 goals in about 10, 12, 15 minutes. That's a lot of footy.
But we were still sitting there quite uncomfortable.
Oh.
And I said to my sister,
who wasn't?
when we went 31 points up and we kicked that goal, I said, that should make me feel more comfortable because we're further in front. But all I'm thinking is now it's worse if we lose. Because the comeback's bigger.
It was the point for me. Once there was a point, I can't remember, it was run over, rushed over or whatever, because it was 30, and I thought, there's a draw in the world. And then when we got the point of right now, it's 6 goals. They have to kick another goal to get back in front. So that to me, I reckon, is too big a hill to climb. And look, they nearly climbed it. It was probably thankfully that Brody Myercheck got injured, which he was looking good down there, but.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But that's how I could see the game. I reckon something happened in that middle period where we just worked it out. And the commentators talked about how we were handballing through their sort of, setup, which Gold Coast had done the work week before and it really had worked for them. And I thought, has someone found a weakness in Collingwood? And now they're in trouble. I think that's the point I'd make too. They're in trouble. My check's out for the year. They're saying with a pectoral. They've had another injury in their ruckman. He's a bit iffy for next week, so they could drop out of the 8 this week.
Yeah, which I was going to make.
Does that mean we did beat it? We did beat another team outside the 8. Is that something that media could write about?
Point, because the narrative last night was that we finally beat a top 8 team, and there is a world or is a way
that would be great
in which that they can drop out. So
I think it'd be hilarious if that happens.
I think the only way it can happen is if the Bulldogs win, which then means the Bulldogs go in.
Who do the Bulldogs play?
Port. But that's the only way Collingwood can drop out. So if the Bulldogs go in, well, we've still beaten a top 8 side in the Dogs. It's just 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Back on track. So you talk about the handballing through and all that sort of malarkey. Well, I think I messaged you at quarter time and just said, every kick they do was going forward, and they were able to hit a target. Whether it was an angled kick,
Yep.
it was still slightly forward, and they were able to get to sort of just defensive side of the wing, look inboard, hit a target in the middle. And
Yeah.
it really, really fucked up our defense. And I was sitting there going, wow. And then stark contrast, our kicks, we had the same number of uncontested marks, but ours are all these sideways, backwards kicks in the defensive 50. It was just so glaringly an obvious difference in how we were playing the game. And
Yep.
it wasn't working for us because we would get to probably half back, not even the wing, and then have to do that dump kick down the line, which that you're just creating a 50-50. Whereas they were managing to create their 50-50 contests in their forward line.
Yep.
And it was so just like, fucking hell, we are so far off. And I was having flashbacks to last year where they beat us by the 70-odd points in the final game. And Crisp rolling through stoppages and kicking goals for fun. That man has never kicked 3 goals in a game, let alone in a quarter.
Look, if there was some negative parts of Essendon which were concerning, and that was the ability or how easily they moved it from their defensive 50 to the forward 50, and there was a
sorry,
no, you're going. It was just parts of that were just they made us look fucking ordinary, like.
But it was so low risk from them. They weren't taking risks particularly.
No, they did it one where they just moved around the wing, and just found players, and that was really concerning. And then
that's work rate,
on
us,
exactly. And then it just all changed. And then, like you could see, there was a moment, and I think this has been part of Essendon's. This is the thing that I think we need that we're missing. I think we've got talented football players and things there. I don't think we have any confidence. And I think that was shown in the Geelong game. Like, they're a team that have beaten us for so long that we still just don't know how to beat them. We're like, oh, they always beat us. And whereas there was in the third quarter, we just worked it out, and we were like, no, we've got this. And everyone was good at football. And then there were moments when, and I really want to stress on how important a guy like Caddy was. He was drawing defenders to him, like in his third game.
If I can just tackle back before we move on too much. So they're kicking and all that through the first quarter. What changed? It was a little bit in the second, but it really was the third and half of the fourth where we flipped that switch. So they lost that ability to kick to target. So they were doing that dump kick to sort of wing half forward, which we were able to. And Draper was great with the intercept marking. He had a couple. Benny Mackay was great with the intercept marking. Jones. We actually had guys that were able to intercept, which we commented on Mackay last week, that he gets his hands to it, but doesn't complete the mark. So that was nice to see. Draper was great. Draper stuck himself in so many contests.
11 marks for Ben Mackay, which would be his highest, I reckon, for us for the year.
For the club, for sure. Whereas the other way, we were able to start hitting targets, and we were able to come back through the middle. And even if we did have to create the 50-50 contest, the pressure that we were able to put on the ball carrier for them was incredible. The tackling, we were hitting them hard. It wasn't just tackling. It wasn't just grabbing them. We were fucking bowling them over and running through them and knocking them to the ground. And what was really, really impressive to me was Nick Dacos had 12 clearances and 31 touches. But... And I read that and went, fucking hell, I thought we actually did all right. Like, I thought we were pretty good. But they were under extreme heat.
What was it? He went at 49% or something, didn't he?
41% efficiency.
That's horrible for him.
Which was the lowest on the ground by quite a way. So I was glad to read that because that's what I felt. I felt like he wasn't effective. And Sam Draper needs to learn some hit-out control because I reckon he hit it down Dacos' throat like 4 times. And I was like, brother... Anyone but him. He is, and I'll say it, he's so good.
Oh, he is a very talented football player. There's
finds space. Just
and that's why I thought it was so important for us to put the Dur Bacon or Bull on him.
We need to let Dur Bacon go. I think.
Okay,
we'll leave that.
Well, Bull then. Yeah. That's why it was so good to put Durham on him because he just negated that first touch, which is where Dacos can really hurt teams.
But it was a team defensive effort in the midfield that he was always under pressure from the stoppage clearances. I'm talking.
Definitely.
He found a bit of space around the ground. That's okay. He wasn't getting the ball inside 50. He didn't score.
But this goes back to my early point about Merritt and how Dacos can really set them up going forward because of that kick that we're talking about. Like, he's a beautiful user of the football.
Damaging, yep.
Damaging. And if he's given a little bit of space, he'll find targets going forward. Like that, like it might not be the one that hits the leading forward, but it's that one out, then they'll hit the leading forward. And that's what I think Merritt does the same thing for us, is that he finds those really good options.
There's no one I'm calmer with going inside 50 than Merritt.
Yeah.
It's just, he'll hit a target. We'll be fine.
Yep. So, and I think that's what was fun. And this is what, I guess, look, I got to the end of the game and I was more frustrated about the Geelong game last week because there were things you saw that line. I'm like, well.
But we spoke about this and the fact that we will look back on that Geelong game and go, well, the umpires really did fuck us, or it was the decline. It was the beginning of the end.
At the moment, it was the umpires fucked us.
That's right. The first test suggests that we were put out of that game beyond our control. We play Melbourne next week. We play Sydney again. We play Brisbane. So there's going to be plenty of tests.
The other thing, I just want one more thing about the Geelong game. And I know I harp on things, and that's just part of my mindset. Yeah. Is it in Goldstein played? So the week before Caddy played, then Goldstein came back in. Caddy played again this week. I will stand on the hill, die on the hill, whichever it is. Yep. That Caddy is so much better for our structures.
Oh my God. Let's talk about Nate. And if I just move my mouse over here, you asked me to make your name Nate on Zoom this week. Never has he cared about what name I call him. I could call him Fuck Knuckle, and he would be Nate.
But no, I want to be Nate.
Today, he wants to be Natey.
Yep, I want to be Natey. I've never been a Natey. I've always been a Nath or a Nathan.
Yeah. I just call you Nathan. It's weird. Can I reel off some stats and then we can
go.
Jump into some discussion. So, I mean, he had 12 touches and hit 1 goal 3. And the 1 goal 3 looks kind of mediocre, but the 3 behind, he was getting shots from wide. So they weren't high percentage shots. So
I'm not fussed by I'm just so impressed by his marking. That's all.
It's not even the marking, it's the attack on the context.
Yeah. He brought the ball down a few times against
More,
yeah.
He ran under it once or twice. Like, Nate, stop running under it. But
that's Peter's job.
Yeah. He honestly, and this is a stupid thing to say about a guy who's played 3 games of football, he looked like our most threatening forward.
Yeah, no, I think that's the point I was getting to, is that you could see the Collingwood defenders were worried about him, and that can only be good for Peter Wright, Langford, because when you think about it, Langford and Stringer don't demand defenders like that, because when the ball's in the air, we usually get marked against. It's been one of our weaknesses for a long time.
Pete's not that threatening in the air.
No.
He's got 10 centimetres on Caddy.
But he still seems to spill the ball.
Did you see Caddy's interview after the game?
No, I didn't.
Bro needs some media training. It was a little bit cringy, but he just said, like, I just wanted to run and jump at the ball. Yeah. I'm like, fucking bottle that. I don't care. I don't care if you mark it. I mean, you need to mark it sometimes, but if you can at least bring the ball to ground, that's a win. You give yourself a chance to keep the ball inside 50. And he just got around the ground so well.
Yeah.
His set shot, the goal he kicked, ironically, was probably the worst set shot. He absolutely stabbed it. Something chronic, but it went through, so who cares?
Yeah.
But just the hype is real. He had a lot of hype on him pre-season, and when I went to that player sponsor.
Yep. Well, this is going to be my question. Can you get him on for an interview?
No, I'm not doing that. I refuse to do that. So I do sponsor Caddy for what it's worth, if people didn't know that.
Why would they?
And it was such a bizarre experience. I sat next to, it was just a dinner at Moonee Valley Racecourse, and I sat next to Zach Reid and Nate Caddy, and it was just dinner with the boys. Like, it was fucking bizarre. But I think Zach Reid was picking on him because of the hype, because he took that 1 mark in training or VFL or something, and he was like, you should have taken that mark. I'm like, no, we're happy that you did. The hype is fucking real.
The hype is real. So, back to my point. So before Geelong, we play him. He looks really good against West Coast. We drop him for I don't care what you call it. It's dropped for the Geelong game.
You can't tell me that Goldstein needed a rest.
No, Goldstein doesn't need a rest after 1 game.
Not after one game.
And then we play him. We play Caddy, not Goldstein this week. And look, it's the infinitely better. I really don't have a problem with Cox even coming into the ruck like he did in the game last night. Like he
He actually
he's
did
gonna
quite well.
yeah, he's going to get beaten by some bigger ruck. Like against Grundy and Gawn, that's going to be a problem. But when the ball hits the ground, which it often does in ruck contests,
You've got to,
um, we've got a runner. So
yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. And I think that makes our forward line infinitely better than having Goldstein and or Draper down there. Draper played a really good game last night. As you said, his rucking needs to work on it. Simon Madden needs to come to the club and say, mate, what you do is you hit it to our players.
It wasn't even that he was hitting it to Collingwood player. He was hitting it to Dacos exclusively. And I'm like, bro.
And I was really worried in that last couple of minutes too, when we were just trying to lock the ball in, just chew up clock, that he was going to hit this big clearance ball out. I go, no, please don't hit one of your big clearance.
Keep
Just
it in close.
keep it, pull it down. Everyone jump on it. Chew the clock, buddy.
So just on Sammy, I had to giggle. I reckon there was about 4 free kicks paid for that chop, and it was like the exact same one that didn't get paid last week, including Draper, who kicked a goal from a free kick that was basically
an ordinary kick. Did you see the kick? You want to talk about a bad kick?
Yeah, look, we know that with Draper. That's why he's good at the G, because he's got enough room for that ball drop with the roof, with no roof. So Sammy kicked a goal and 24 hitouts. Cameron had 21 hitouts, didn't hit the scoreboard. So on top there, clearly. But the 5 marks, you particularly don't like it when we have ruckmen that can't take marks in effect the game away. 5 marks, and they were pack marks too.
Yeah.
They were contested.
They'll get us out of jail marks.
Contested marks. He took 2 of his 5 were contested. So,
but there were marks in situations where we need, like even there were a couple in defensive 50 where he took the mark, and
there was one late, right on that line, on the cusp of Collingwood being able to do it and not being able to do it, and he took the mark at half back, and I went that's it, we're good. I relaxed in my chair.
Just on that moment too, there was about 6 minutes to go, and Zach Merritt, our fearless captain,
smacked the ball back into the middle.
No. Put in a couple of massive sprinting efforts. Did you see them where he gut busted his ass to chase the Collingwood players and affect the contest? And I reckon I think Caldwell might have mentioned it after the game in the interview. I didn't catch the whole interview. I was jumping around too much. And I reckon that was just a beautiful bit of play. You could see him bent over after it, like trying to catch his breath, but he'd had an effect. And
big effect.
Yeah. So just like it was hard not to be impressed. And as I said, I kept going back to looking last week and this week, and I know the umpiring had an effect, but it was also the way we played. Like
the way we played was very different.
Yeah. And I'm just like, well, that has to come out of that. The other person I want to quickly mention too is Shield. Like, let's talk about how well he played, especially as the game progressed.
Can I give some numbers?
Yeah, love some numbers.
So 26 touches, 8 tackles, which was a game high. 3 of those inside 50, which was at least a team high.
Yep.
And he had 6 clearances, 5 of them at centre. And I think the comment that I made on him was that shit seemed to follow him in the first quarter.
Oh, a couple of those.
I don't know if that was him or just the kicks to him.
But Ridley butchered a kick over his head, and I think Redmond won. Oh, was it Mackay?
Turned the ball over a couple of times.
Mackay was horrible in that first. Yeah. But poor old Shield was in a bit of space, and the kicks missed him, and went to and I think they kicked goals from everything. Like I was like,
that's what I mean. The shit followed him, but. Well, I mean,
to his credit, that second half, he clearances in the middle, like he was. And look, Perkins, we've talked about, hasn't been in great form the last 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know if it's a stint back in the VFL. That's a big question because he's been such a good player, but his form is not anything that I'm enjoying. And then you watch Shield come in and play with his, as we know, he can be a clearance king. He led the AFL, or was top 3 in the AFL in clearances a few years back. So.
Centre clearances, yeah.
Centre clearances, yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to see because he's been the whipping boy. He's been out for a long time. But I think there's a bit of a feeling towards him now that we like him because he's done his time in the VFL. He hasn't just come straight back in. He's had to earn his spot. And now, guess what, Dill? You came back in and you played a good game of footy.
And I listened to the interview with Scott talking about that. They asked him about, like, playing so much VFL and all this. So he'd had a very serious injury and he had to get himself right. And until that happened and he started hitting some things, then he wasn't coming back in. So he had to do that.
Which
and We're
We're
all
okay
for
with.
that. We're all
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
We talk about this all the time. I have no problem with senior players coming back through the VFL.
Just-
Like I'm sure Parrish will when he gets back. I reckon that'll definitely be a VFL game.
Mm. Yeah, look, I don't know, but I'm happy for Shield. I'm happy for the man that it would have been tough for him to come under such a big deal and a big trade and then to not really play the footy he would have expected from himself. And he hasn't played consistent senior football for 12
Yeah.
months at least. So
One other one. Can I jump on another one?
you may.
Harry Jones.
Jones, yep.
Got
Oh,
his
you've
stats
got
up.
a little dot point there. Look at that.
Yeah, I've had the dot point. I highlighted it. Oh no,
Look
that
at
was the
you.
other one.
I wish it highlighted the ones you put in because
Well, maybe I should do
my
that so
life a lot
you
easier.
don't read them.
Um, oh, did you want me to do numbers?
Yeah. Sorry.
17 touches, kicked a goal, 6 marks, 2 tackles,
Great tackle.
and just got around the ground again. Big dog. Got
So-
Jordan McGoey holding the ball too.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, good.
He always sneaks away with one of them in the forward. Like after he
Yeah.
makes a bit of a cock up, he goes,
Very
"Oh,
impressive.
I'll fix that.
Yeah.
I'll fix that cock up quickly." Last week again, I'm going back to last week.
Yeah.
He was subbed out.
Quit living in the past, man.
Quick. But this is what pissed me off about last week. He was subbed out, and we would have had him in the top 3 or 4 best players on the ground at nearly time when he came off.
Yeah, fades a little bit, I reckon,
Yeah.
before that, but yep.
Yep. I reckon was he subbed off the week before too? Against... No, that was yeah. He is so important. I think playing on it was a fascinating wing situation where we've got him and Cox at stages, both guys over. Well, Harry Jones would be 198,
195 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I reckon he'd be 198 Jones
Okay.
or something.
It's 3
And Cox
centimetres.
is obviously 2 meters, and it's really adding to our marking prowess around. Like those numbers, 5 marks. You tell me that feels like I felt like he took a lot more than that. Like he just clunked the ball really well.
Again, though, it's the effort in the air and the not getting outmarked because getting
Exactly,
outmarked in
yep.
those situations just kills you.
Yep. Agree.
The goal that he kicked, I don't know if this came across on TV or not. I have never seen a set shot flushed that hard. It was a bullet,
Oh, really?
absolute bullet. And I'm like, Harry, bottle that. I don't know what the fuck you just did, but that was the fastest kick for goal I've ever seen from a set shot. It just fucking.
What about his first shot that just didn't make the difference? It floated like a
Oh,
mongrel.
yeah, it was too far out. He
That's a
had to
mum.
overkick it. I did watch him in the warm up too. He was a bit fumbly, so it might have been a little hangover from that.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
I'm just loving what he's bringing the last few. Like, early in the year, there was nearly a stage in that first few games. I think he played VFL.
well, he got dropped. He got dropped.
He
off
got
round
dropped,
one.
that's
He,
right,
he
yes,
stunk it up in round 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were like, look, maybe he's not up to the standard.
Yeah.
I
And
know. I
then
said that. I said I don't know if he's up to the standard of AFL. Like he just looks horrible.
he
Looks
had
so
his-
out. Of...
Yep. And then he had his week in the VFL. He got a reprieve the next week. He was a late in and he's played every game since, I believe, apart from the suspension.
And I'm loving this. Like, it's funny. We talked so much about Kelly playing on the wing for 5 or 6 games. We hated it. Kelly was great again as a defender.
Yeah,
like
I got a note there for that.
Yeah. And then Jones goes to the wing, and I like, yep, that works. Okay.
But it's
That-
good because it means that we're analysing it for how it is, not just because we don't like Kelly or we
No.
like Jones. It's the
100%.
impact you have on the game, and that's what we're looking at.
Yep. Whereas Jones, I mean, the problem with Kelly on the wing was he can't mark the ball. He's too slow with decisions. He's not a really brilliant kick, or he doesn't. I don't know what he brought. I couldn't work it out. I was like, is he a defensive winger? Is that it? Like,
You can clearly see what Jones brings to that role.
and you can see what Cox brings too, because he brings that spare ruckman too. Like he's all of a sudden your winger can go ruck a bit, and
and we talked about it
Mm.
in reference to Cox that when you have those sort of heights, we don't have to. I mean, we did right at the end, but we don't have to put a big tall forward like Wright or Langford behind the ball when we want to control it.
Yeah.
We can just have our wingers drop into defence, and all of a sudden you've got an extra 2 meter tall defender.
Exactly.
Or,
and
vice
who marked
versa,
the ball well. Yeah.
Other end of the ground, we can have a 2 meter tall winger drop into the forward line.
Exactly. And Cox got up there a couple of times too. So look,
I think that worked. And similar to the Durham decision, whoever it was that said Durham in the midfield, props. Whoever it was that said Harry Jones on the wing,
props.
respect. Yeah. And again, Brad Scott gets that love
Well,
because he's the senior coach.
That's how it works. He gets all the love and all the hate.
And all the hate,
Yep.
So that's big tick.
Yep.
One more on my list there for the players is just Jai Caldwell. On a smoky for the BNF. I think Zach's pretty comfy, but Caldwell...
He really oils himself up, Caldwell. Like
He does.
He glistens under the light sometimes when he comes out. I love him.
30 touches, 7 tackles, and 8 clearances, and that is just again a standard game for Jai these days.
130 fantasy points or something again too, so he's in form there.
Yeah. I love it. He's the Essendon edge embodied. He cracks in, he hits hard, he tackles well, and he's good with the footy. And this is, again, I've said it 100 times before. They asked Phil Davis at GWS, who'd you give a 10-year deal to? Who would you give a 10-year deal to? And he said Jai Caldwell.
Wow. Look,
and we're seeing that now.
Yeah.
We're going, oh my God. And
The
he apparently
commentator-
signed on.
yeah.
He's apparently signed a 4-year deal with us too.
Oh, good. The commentators were making mark about how with him and Durham, the hard edge that they bring to the team is really something a bit unique. You know, like that's something that can't go away. Like that's there. That's their style, and that's what they'll always have. And I think it's something we've lacked for a long time. Like I think one of the problems we had with like Shield is that he's not a hard.
There's no hard edge there.
He's not a hard edge midfield. He's great to get the ball to, uses it well, get outside, use his pace and all that sort of stuff. Great. But he's not that hard, nuggety, fucking crack in, put his head over the ball and really take the team.
You can have those players. But when you have...
it's got to be a mix.
That's right. It's got to be the balance of it. That's
it's like people always have bagged us out for years for not having a big-bodied midfielder. So...
things are pretty rosy at the minute. It's funny in football because not this time last week, when we did last week's pod, we were pretty flat and season over kind of mood. I don't know about you.
I was, and there was a bit of sicko in me in the start of this first quarter, this game that
go beat us by a lot, Collingwood.
Yeah, I was like, Collingwood flog us by 100 and just
really drive our point home. Yeah, no.
Yep.
And this is the change. This is the improvement that we've seen in this team. And again, I have to say it that there's still a long time to go.
It might be a different result this year, yeah.
Well, I'll reserve all judgment until round 24, but...
Oh, no, I'll judge before then.
The improvement in guys like Caldwell, Durham, and just the changes in the team, you know, Jones on the wing, etc., that I go, all right, I think we have improved, and I'm more than happy to chalk last week down as a just screw you AFL, but
I hope
we need to keep playing that football. And the biggest frustration we've got is that the difference between our best and our worst, like you said, that first quarter, it was like they could beat us by 70 points here. Like, we were fucking shit.
Turning the ball over, we weren't like we were giving Caddy, so much space in clearance in stoppages, and it was just everything was wrong. And I was like, oh God.
And then that third quarter and the fourth, I'm like,
we just ran past them.
This is a team that deserves to be top 4.
Yeah.
We play like that.
Well, it was something the commentators made. We kicked 9 goals, 6 or something like that, you know, to their 2 goals, 2 at one stage.
Like, we had 7 more scoring shots. That's another little thing we need to be a bit more consistent with is our shots on goal.
Yeah, we were getting a lot of shots early on that were out quite wide. That were
they were low percentage. Yeah, sure.
Well, at the end of the first quarter, we'd kicked 2-5 to their 5-2.
Yeah.
And had exact same 12, both had 12 inside 50s.
Yeah. But
the inside
did not
50
tell the story at all.
No, but the way the ball had gone in and where it had gone in had been very different.
Yeah.
But, you know, the work is happening in the middle of the ground. It's just something in that 70 or 80 metre mark was not going right.
I need to mention too, Xavier Dersma.
Oh, yeah.
I think he should get life membership to the football club for that fend off on Dacos. Yeah. That was a thing of beauty.
I love his marks in defence. Again, he's not a defensive winger mark, you know.
Just gets up and down.
Both ends of the ground. Yeah, but his ability to take or influence contests in that back 50 is really impressive.
8 marks for Dersma, and he managed a goal. So
yeah, look, at the moment, I think we've said this. He's probably the best pick, I reckon, out of the 3 at the moment. 4 we count Goldstein, I guess, but I feel like he's really excited by what he brings.
like I said it last week, structurally it has to be Ben Mackay because we'd be absolutely screwed
you're
without
right.
him.
Yeah.
But in terms of the value that we're getting from the player itself, yeah, for sure.
I guess I expected Ben Mackay to be good. Like he's 27 or whatever, or 26, 27. And
Desmond was a bit more,
Dersman's
2 or 3 years time.
and maybe that was my own. Like, I don't watch a lot of Port. Like they're not one of those clubs I watch a lot. Whereas I watch North Melbourne, I watch a lot of more probably Victorian. Port are just one of those clubs I just
Wasn't
can't
just North Melbourne. Ben Mackay tore us a new one in his last game against us for North. It was like an audition. We just kept bombing it on his head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ben's quite good.
He can take a mark.
He can take a mark. Yeah, we just need the opposition to bomb it on his head. We'll be golden.
Yeah.
Are we happy to move on into some
Yep.
stats and some other discussions? So,
Yep.
plus 64 disposals, plus 43 kicks, plus 21 handballs, and we were plus 10 contested. We won the contested ball against Collingwood.
Yeah.
Oh shit! My light just fell down. Plus 3 inside 50s, which was close. I thought, given how we controlled the game, I thought plus 3 inside 50s was actually quite close. But plus 7 scoring shots, as I mentioned earlier, 58.3% efficiency inside 50. Our average in 2024 was 44. So we were, and that's if we have fixed that issue, Caddy, hello. We are that's one of the glaring issues that we had. So if we've actually managed to fix that, then I'm even more buoyant about the rest of the year.
But is that I think that continues to go to my point that's why Caddy's better than, and I don't think it's a direct swap Caddy for Goldstein, but that's why Caddy's better because it sharpens up, it gives us that focus where we're kicking it because of where he leads and where he is, because he's very much a natural forward and he's in good spots.
And just keep running the ball, Cads, jumping.
Yep.
Plus 7 hit outs for plus 3 clearances, 1 at centre, 2 at stoppage. Again, I'm quite happy to be beating Collingwood at stoppages again. Yep. And in the first quarter, they were all over us in that department. So we did kick 3 goals from centre clearance as well. So
they rolled through a few easy ones too, I felt.
Yep. Plus 50 marks, plus that's 8 of them inside 50, and plus 6 contested. Well.
A lot of them were just that defensive, just trying to move them side to side and wear them out a bit.
But that's why I preface that, the other opposite of preface after first. Plus 8 inside 50.
After us.
I am good with the words. Plus 8 inside 50. So that, and it was like, I know that's the wrong stat. Yeah, plus 8 inside 50. Good. Plus 13 tackles, and this is the one I was thinking before, plus 8 tackles inside 50, which was 12-4. So we tripled their tackles inside 50, which again, great. And that speaks to Caddy being able to compete in the air, not letting Moore take the intercept marks. He took a couple, but it wasn't a glaring issue.
He's always going to do that.
Bro's in a bit of bad form himself. Old Darcy, he kicked it straight to Caddy at one point from a kick out.
Yeah.
And then, plus 8 tackles inside 50. It's just huge.
Yep.
No,
so they're all really good indicators of a team that, like last week we sat here and we talked about, and we talked about it a few weeks, like the number of inside 50s, but we weren't getting the scoring shots. And those numbers, as you pointed out with that stat, seems to be a lot more a lot
more effective.
More effective is the word I'm after. Yeah, so we brought those numbers close together. So your inside 50s and your shots on goals seem to be resulting in better numbers. Not going the other way as we have been the last few weeks. So it was very much a turnaround against quality opposition. So really exciting. And moving forward, we know we've got Melbourne, Adelaide, St Kilda in the next few weeks.
Well, if we can beat Melbourne.
I think they're all beatable. They're all a little bit.
Well, I don't.
St Kilda's got injury problems. Adelaide
don't read into Melbourne 12th. I think class is permanent.
No,
they've still got the quality. Obviously, no Petrarca, but still got the quality in Gordon, Oliver,
Viney,
Rich,
May.
Yeah. So
they've still got good players.
I refuse to. I show them respect. Sorry, I do show them respect, not I refuse to. I show them the respect. That's going
to be fascinating, Melbourne next week, because I reckon that's what with Gawn, obviously, they're going to be really drawn to say, well, we should bring in 2 ruckmen. Whereas I reckon it's the perfect chance to just let Draper and Gawn go head to head. And their backup ruckman is usually the young kid
Van
Rooyen, which if you threw Cox or
Right.
Peter Wright at him, you'd go, well, that's a 50-50. We'll
Probably
take that.
right. I think Van Rooyen's a bit bigger than.
But Cox around the ground might be again on the wings and stuff. And the stoppages, not so much the centre bounces. That might be, you'd take that. I'd be more than happy to say, yep, that's a 50-50. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Whereas Gawn against Draper, I'd love to see it head to head.
Look, it's a really big test, and then we do sort of progress into some of those games where I go, well, thinking as a side that wants to finish top 4. That's where we are at the moment. So that's how we need to be thinking.
I don't even like saying that, Sam.
We should beat Adelaide. We play Adelaide at Marvel. Yeah. And then we roll into St Kilda, who we've already beaten.
And they've got some injuries too. Max King,
yeah,
whichever King.
Don't like seeing these big players.
No, of course not. But that's. I mean,
honestly,
let's be honest. We had Danaher for so long that he was freaking injured most of the time. I mean, it just happens.
It does. If I had to pick one Collingwood player that I really like, it's Myercheck. So I was pretty sad to see him.
He was up here in Bright a few years ago at darker days when I was there wandering around. I go, hey, that's Brody Myercheck, and all the people with me go, who? Because no one.
He's probably victim of their system now, but he's a perfect second or third forward.
Oh, he's a great little player. Yeah. Does these roles? How about just to give him some credit, he shepherds through a goal with a
torn
pectoral. That's a pretty impressive effort. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then we roll into Freo at the G, which if it stays how it is, that's third v fourth. I mean, I think Freo jump us if they win this week, so the numbers will change. But that's a huge game at the G. I mean, I don't think there'll be too many occasions where we might get 60 or 70,000 people to a game against Fremantle.
No, you're right. Well, even the Melbourne game, when is that? A Friday or Saturday night?
Saturday night next week.
Saturday night, yeah. So realistically, I know Melbourne supporters don't get to the ground a lot, but if that's our home game.
No, there's.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's
their
okay. Okay. Well, then, I would have said maybe you get a fairly big crowd there, but
we'll rock up because
of course we will. But if it was our home game, I would have put 80 on it.
Human nature. I have every club does this, but when we're on a bit of a run,
of course you do.
The crowd numbers do. I was surprised we got 80 last night, given last week.
We didn't. They did, but
true.
I still think a lot of it would have been Collingwood. As I said, Collingwood people rocking up, go, right, we'll get our season back on track here now. We've got the Bombers. We got flogged by Geelong last week. We'll just, knock them over and move on.
True. The last point on my list here is Kelly on Hill. I want to harp on Cal a little bit because of our issues with him on the wing. Hill had 9 touches for 1 behind, and he kicked the behind when he was on McGrath. So he wasn't even on Cal at that point. I love it. I love him as a defender, and
I love him as a defender.
We didn't see this enough. We were talking at the start of the year that he wouldn't be in the best 22, but we have not seen him as a defender enough, and now we are. I can't even begin to picture a world where he does not play that role. Hill is class.
No.
He's personified. He is a Norm Smith medalist, kicked 4 in a grand final. He's quick, he's agile, he absolutely grips someone on half forward just with a little step.
He's got good steps on him.
So, Cal.
But again, I know we feel like we repeat ourselves, but Kelly as a defender, great. Love it. Kelly on the wing, go to hell, Essendon Football Club, go to hell.
Yep.
That's an experiment that doesn't need to be experiment with anymore.
Well, the experiment's now moved into Jones, and we go, well, you got that one right.
So that experiment's working. You'll go, we'll just tick along with that to see where it takes us.
Yeah.
Because it's allowing you to play caddy forward, which is allowing you then to not play a second ruckman because you've got these extra tools running around the ground marking the ball. So that and what they're bringing is mobility as opposed to Goldstein who can't run.
There's something to be said for just having a first-year player in your side.
Oh, you're right.
It's nice to just watch a younger player.
Enthusiasm. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be first year, but just a kid where you're going, fuck, we've got one.
He just wants to play footy, though. But you're watching me. He just wants to I just want to run and jump. I just
Well,
want, like you
I
said,
love that. I love that. I might get it tattooed across my forehead. I just want to run and jump. It's just
no regret.
no.
Um,
Yeah, I love
um,
it. It
yeah.
really makes me happy, and it makes me happy that it's Caddy because there was a fair bit of hype around him from all of us.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And it's so like I love too that he's a marking forward. I guess we'll call him a tall forward. He's not tall, but like
he plays tall when
we
he
all
can
know
run
how
jump.
important forwards are to win premierships. Like, you think of the great premiership teams, even, Richmond with Rewalt and Lynch, I go back to Brisbane. I'll go back to Essendon with Lloyd and Lucas. We'll go back to Brisbane with their Lynch
Brown.
and Brown, like some of the great tall forwards or marking forwards. And teams can build off those sort of players. I really, they're just so
Well, it's your
important.
spine, isn't it? That's what
Yeah.
you get right first, and then you worry
And you could
about
argue
everything.
Mackay is a big part of that too.
Yeah. Shall we move into some votes?
Yeah, I'd love to, yes.
So
They're pretty ordinary.
we've done the same.
Yep.
3
And
to
I
Merritt.
want it to be known, I did not copy you. I'd already
No,
made
that's
my
okay.
decision before
That's all
I
right.
saw yours and went, fuck.
We've disagreed enough to that people will know that we don't copy each other for our votes. Merritt 3, Caldwell 2, and we both gave the one to Shield. I really wanted to give the one to Caddy, but Shield was just too good to ignore.
Well, the other one for me was Durham too. I had him at 3 and 4, and I had Shield, but I really love Shield. I guess
the adversity, isn't it?
It's a bit of a participation award,
No, don't say it like that.
Well, it is a bit, so I loved what you brought. I want that enthusiasm. I want I want you to know that that's what we need to bring every week. And you bring that every week, you play every week.
Yeah, for sure.
No problems there. Whereas Stars is not looking for that. Yeah, I'm in.
I just wanted to give it to Caddy for the contest. But yeah, Dill was too hard to ignore.
Fair enough.
The social, I remember the social post this week
around
him. Fiona. Me and Fiona separated at birth. She said Essendon by 12. And she gave 3 to Merritt, 2 to Caldwell, and 1 to Durham. So
yeah. Good votes.
No arguments there from me at all.
Can I also just quickly mention something to the stupid ones that that are us? That please throw.
Yes.
If you put a bet on at the moment, now we don't condone betting, but Essendon to win the premiership, Caddy to win the Rising Star, and Merritt to win the Brownlow, paying $1,800 just to let everyone know it could happen.
You're a fuckhead. Well, I said you told me this before we started recording. The least likely of that is Nate Caddy to win the Rising Star, and that's bizarre.
How do you know that? He could have a dominance.
If he kicks, 7 or 8 games. If he wins the Coleman from here, maybe. But I don't see that happening.
Actually, maybe that should have been the fourth bet.
We're such...
Stringer to win the comp. Who's leading out? Who's kicked the most goals for us?
We are so
stupid.
When we're losing, we are so pessimistic. When we're winning, we are so optimistic.
Oh no, this is so annoying.
Soul crushing.
We are people that you do not want to hang around with.
No, you want to hang around with us. We're good people.
We're good people, but we are up and we are down.
Yes.
There is no flat levels here.
Ride the roller coaster.
Ride the roller coaster of life.
Anything else on the game? Is there anything else you want to mention that you want to talk about other than just we beat Collingwood?
We beat Collingwood in your face. I looking forward to next week. I'm fascinated about selection. Heppel was rested. You could argue, how does he come back in?
I asked you about this week, not next week.
Well,
Sunshine.
Oh yeah, I know this week, but I think about this week's done, and what I think about then is what do they take from this? What do we walk away with? How do we move forward? Because
all right, so let me introduce.
How about ask you?
Well, let me introduce the fucking subject before you talk about next week.
Okay.
God's sake, trying to make this. Don't be all.
He's always angry at me, people.
Don't be all hurt, bunny, on me. You prick. Make me feel like the bad guy. Next week, I just wanted to make sure we'd covered everything about the Collingwood game before I move on, and then you just talked about next week anyway.
I'm sure we will.
VFL is this afternoon at 2:00, so we've got no
VFL report.
Next week, tests keep coming. We play Melbourne Saturday night at the MCG again. And again, we're favourites. So interesting position to be in against Melbourne, to be fair. Did beat them the last time we played them, which was gather round last year. We haven't played them for over 12 months.
Wow. Yeah.
In what was probably our best win of last season, I would venture a guess.
Well, as I said, I don't want to say. Can I speak now?
Yes. Actually, no, fuck you. So I want to make a really original point that Heppel has to come back in. There'll be question marks about
who goes out.
Goldstein. Well, I say Heppel has to come back in. I assume he will come back in.
Who comes out then?
I don't know.
Well, you can't just say one guy comes in and no one goes out. That's piss weak. Like you take someone out. Perkins, there you go. I did have the thought about, could Perkins play as a defender? Like, is that something we haven't tried? Because there's no room for him up in the forward line and there's no room for him in the midfield at the moment. His form is horrible.
I think you just persist a little bit longer before we start talking about Perko.
But honestly, seriously, how do you get Heppel back in?
I don't know. If Goldstein plays, I'll throw hands. If Caddy doesn't play, I'll throw hands.
Oh, if Caddy doesn't play, I'll throw hands. I'm writing a letter.
Yeah. Maybe Hind for Heppel. I mean, I feel sorry for Hind because he got 4 minutes of game time. And honestly, Hind had one touch and he did the right thing.
Yeah.
So, fair enough.
But I don't mind Hind as a sub. I mean, I know that's a shitty spot to play. I hate the sub. It's a shit thing. But I would prefer the sub as a senior player than a younger player. I just don't see the point of that. You're not developing them. Whereas Hind, you could argue that, his development's not going to really.
There's no developing.
No, you can't develop. He's at a stage where he's at.
Who went out? Who came in? So it was really Kelly that came in.
Yeah, and Kelly played such a good game that you can't.
Kelly's spot isn't under pressure there.
Yeah, no. And then there's Ridley and Redmond, and Redmond did a few stupid things, but
again, he's not getting dropped. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question.
I just say it's no changes, no injury, no changes. Play the same team next week. Like, I'm sorry that this is where we have to be ruthless a bit. In that I'm sorry, Heppel, the team looked a bit better without you.
I agree, but we have this quite a lot, me and you, where we think that's what should happen, but we acknowledge and accept that it won't happen that way. I think he'll come back in. I just don't know who for.
And I think the reason I say this is because the other one would be Shield. That you can't take him back out of that side.
Yeah, that's his spot now for a little bit.
Well, he's played well. We've just given him votes. He's played pretty well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he might even get coaches' votes, so you can't take that guy out of the side. And the wings are working with Harry, like the forward caddy, so I just, I
don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I wouldn't want to change
I'd love to hear some comments from that on people, what people's thoughts are. That is just play that side, or
I think when you play football like that, unchanged. But I just don't see them not bringing Heppel back. That's my issue.
Well, I just see you have to play unchanged. Like, there's no.
And honestly, I can see them bringing back Goldstein.
I can see them bringing back Goldstein too, and I'll be fascinated how they do it. They'll probably rest someone else, someone like Langford or.
No, I tell you, it'd be Caddy.
They cannot take Caddy out.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that's what.
No. This is not an agreement or disagreement. This is if they do, there will be the Essendon supporters, not just you and I.
We will all.
We're like, what the fuck?
Riot. Tip, please.
Essendon by 12. Oh, come on.
I'm going to say Essendon by 17.
I'd actually probably go us by about 3 goals. Would be probably, I reckon.
Pick one. Sunshine?
Well, 3 goals. Well, 2 to 3 goals, I reckon.
I just said Essendon by 17. And now
okay, fine. Fuck you. Yeah. I'll say Essendon by 17 then.
I'll say Essendon by 12. We'll circle back to this next week. And
make you look like
either a god or a dickhead. If we win by 17, I swear to God, I'll quit.
Oh, okay. Please let us win by 17.
Don't. You love this. Any final thoughts that we haven't already covered?
No, just I'm going to be up and about all weekend. I've got a few days off.
It's nice starting your weekend with a win.
Oh,
especially against Collingwood.
So as you know, my parents-in-law come around on a fair bit. One of them is Geelong. He popped over. They both popped over, and the other one is Collingwood. So he was over last week. He said, "Oh, what do you think of the footy?" And I just walked off. I said, "What do you reckon?" I thought, it was great. We lost. Woohoo! So maybe they'll pop over this weekend, and I was like, "What do you think of the footy?"
What do you think of the volleyball? Yeah, it's interesting. That's Carlton couldn't beat Collingwood, so cop that, Carlton.
Yeah, no could go. Oh well, yeah, yeah.
Well, it
Yeah,
kind of works. Gold Coast beat Collingwood, Gold Coast beat us. We beat Collingwood. There's kind of a little bit of symmetry there, not quite.
I'm just happy we won. To be honest, moving forward, I'm just excited.
Yep. On that bombshell, we will wrap up.
That is a bombshell.
Huge. That's Top Gear. Jeremy Clarkson used to finish Top Gear with on that bombshell every week.
Yep.
Yeah, wrap up there. I think there's not much else left to say. Lovely way to start the weekend. I've only got one cut to make this week, which is nice. Because my fucking light fell down. And bring on the D's. Bring on another fucking test for this football club.
Love it.
Go Dons.
Go Bombers.